Single arm dumbbell RDL. Starting with the feet shoulder width apart. We're tall and tight. From here, we're gonna have a slight bend in the knee. We're gonna reach our hips back, bring the belt below or in line with the knee. From here, press your feet into the floor and stand tall. So again, I'm tall and tight, slight bend in the knees, reach those hips back, press your feet into the floor to stand tall. From a different angle, again, tall and tight, slight bend in the knee, reach your hips back, press up to stand tall. Kettlebell RDL, grabbing your kettlebell by the handle. Kettlebell RDL, grabbing your kettlebell by the handle. We're gonna have a tall and tight position. We're going to have a slight bend in the knee. We're gonna reach our hips back. Bring the hands below the knee. Press your feet into the floor to stand tall. From a different angle, again, I'm tall and tight. Slight bend in my knee. Reach my hips back. Press my feet into the floor to stand tall. Again, the goal here is to emphasize those shoulder blades being pulled back. We want to have those knees slightly bent and maximize the bend at the hip to make sure that we're getting the strength into the glutes and the hamstrings in this movement. Kettlebell deadlift. We want to start with the bell on the floor. We want to have the handle relatively in front of the shins, if not in line with the shins. We're going to have our feet shoulder width apart. And we don't want it to be too wide. We want it just to be at shoulder width apart versus with a squat they can be wider. And so the reason that we're having that difference is because we're emphasizing the glutes and the hamstring. And so with a kettlebell deadlift, we're going to start tall and tight. We're going to have a slight bend in the knee. We're going to reach our hips back. From here, I'm going to grab the handle, press my feet into the floor, and stand tall. Again, the emphasis here is to crush the handle with your hands, keeping those shoulder blades down and back as you're going through that motion. And so from a different angle, again, I have that bell in line with the shins. I have a slight bend in my knee. I reach my hips back. I press my feet into the floor to stand tall. Again, emphasizing that tall and tight position, having that bend in the knee and those hips reaching back. Kettlebell deadlift to power clean. Same setup as before with our deadlift. The bell is going to be relatively in line, if not in front of the shins slightly. We're going to start with our feet shoulder width apart, tall and tight, slight bend in the knees. We're going to reach our hips back. Now from this bottom position, what I want to do is I want to pull the bell up and catch. From this top position, I'm going to bring my hands together as I drop the bell back and reaching my hips to the wall. Pull and catch, drop and reach. So as you can tell, the top position is similar to that of a goblet squat position. I'm grabbing the handles from the outside edges. But as I reach my hips back, I bring my hands together to start in the deadlift position. From there, I pop up and catch that bell going into the goblet position. From a different angle, again, I'm tall and tight. I reach my hips back with a slight bend in my knees. Starting from the floor, I press my feet into the floor to stand tall, pull the bell up and catch it, drop it and reach those hips back. Kettlebell power swing. With the kettlebell power swing, we want to create a little bit of distance between us and the bell to get the bell in the position for the exercise. And so what I want to do is I want to have about 2 feet of distance here. My feet are still going to be same. They're about shoulder width apart. I'm going to start in a tall and tight position, slight bend in my knees, and I'm going to reach my hips back. So the start position of this exercise is as you're in the bottom position of your hip hinge. You're tilting the bell towards you. You don't want it to have it in an upright position because it makes it difficult to load the bell. So I want to tilt the bell towards me. From here, I'm going to hike the bell behind my hips, press my feet to stand tall, and then start back in the bottom position. And so one of the things that we want to emphasize here is that pull back and that press through the hips as we sit those hips back in the bottom position. So there's 2 things that most people get confused with this exercise. The first thing that people get confused with is the tilting and the pulling of the bell. And so we want to emphasize that that bottom position, you're tilting that bell towards you and you're throwing your hands in between your thighs in a high position. From there, we explode through our feet, letting the arms slightly float up, and again, waiting for the weight to push us back. Because most times with a kettlebell swing, what happens is we hinge too early. So I'm at the end position of my kettlebell swing, and I start letting the bell float down. If I hinge too early, you can tell my low back starts rounding. And so I want to avoid that. And the best way to do that is by waiting, 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 waiting. And once I don't have the hands in the side of my eyes, I can start reaching those hips back. So again, I'm tall and tight. I have a slight bend in my knee. I tilt the bell towards me. I hike pass, explode up, wait, and let the bell go between my thighs as I go through this motion. With the kettlebell swing, there's a few things that we want to make sure that we are getting right. And those are going to be 3 specific spots. The top position. As I end the kettlebell swing, I don't want to be arching my low back. I want to just be tall and tight with my elbows forward. There can be a little bend at the top, but I don't want to see this T-Rex motion. The reason I don't want that is because you're getting more of the bicep involved. You're taking out the lats because the lats are staying down. If you allow those lats to stretch forward and then pull back, you're going to get more out of the exercise by incorporating more muscles involved. So that's the top position. Remember, we don't want T-Rex arms and we don't want our back arching. We want to just be tall and tight with a little bend in the elbow at the top. The next thing that we want to emphasize is the bottom position. So again, I don't want to be hinging too early so that my low back rounds. I want to make sure that I'm waiting for that bell to reach my hips back. I press my feet into the floor to stand tall. So wait, wait, wait. Let the bell reach back for you, then explode up. The last bit I want to make sure that we're emphasizing is your start position. So similar to that of the power swing, I want to have a good about 2 feet of distance here. I'm going to bend my knees. I'm going to reach my hips back. I tilt the bell towards me, I toss it behind, and I explode up through my swing. I want to make sure that I'm emphasizing the tension at the top of my swing by making sure my knees get locked out and my hips get tight. So remember, we want to start with that distance in the bell. That way we can create the proper setup to begin our kettlebell swings.